Welcome to Stockholm and our Congress on Planetary Health. How can we build human health and well-being whilst the environment that man is a breathing, living part of is undergoing huge challenges? How can we find new solutions to environmental and climate changes? And how can we start seeing man as one with our natural environment? We are here, gathered here, to find solutions and build interdisciplinary bridges. And we, you, are medical doctors, veterinaries, biologists, insect specialists, economists, climatologists, hydrologists, natural geographers. We even have a former astronaut. Have I forgotten any specialists? Sorry? Public health. Communications. Excellent, thank you. I am Maria Borelius. I am a science journalist and I will be the moderator for 3 days. And I will begin in a slightly different way. I would like to take you here. I took this picture one morning, September morning, a couple of years ago in the Swedish mountain range between Sweden and Norway, between Stensdalen and Vålådalen. It's the last day of the hike. The rucksack is light. You're walking on the wooden bogs in the cloud. You're walking on the wooden beams in the cloudberry bog, and you're feeling, breathing, being one with nature. So to really go here and become here, I'd like you all to close your eyes for a 1-minute meditation. Think about your spot of favorite nature, where you feel at home, where you are breathing with nature, being one, being calm and at rest. And just breathe in that for a minute and just be present here. Okay, thank you for bringing yourselves fully to our 3 days and the existential challenge. It's not the last time we're going to meditate, I can warn you. We have a wonderful group of people here to greet us. Welcome. And I would first like to give the floor to Annika Wernerson, who is a professor and also a president of the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm. Annika, the floor, give her an applause.
Thank you. Up until just a few years ago, human health and healthy aging were seldom mentioned when discussing climate change and sustainability. But now it's no longer possible to separate them. Today it's all too clear that rising temperatures, extreme weather, pollution, and the loss of biodiversity are affecting our physical and mental health and reshaping the societies we live in. Health is the new face of climate change. The sum of these critical challenges is often referred to as the Great Acceleration. To understand these changes, we need to connect the dots, both at the national and global level. We must also adopt a multifaceted approach, and this is exactly what this conference is all about. Our own Carl von Linné called our species Homo sapiens the wise man. However, it's man's footprint that has led up to where we are today. Living in the age of Anthropocene, the age of man, now we need to use this intelligence to take on a more biocentric perspective and connect to the intelligence of nature. When talking about different aspects of sustainability, we need to be careful with our language and the words that we use. For instance, when we talk about the green transition, we often mean moving away from fossil fuels. However, destroying old virgin forests and other natural habitats and replacing them with tree plantations, destroying the natural habitats of animals and rare plants, is all but green. This applies as much to Sweden as elsewhere. We cannot either separate climate change and biodiversity. As David Attenborough, who has just turned 99, has pointed out, climate change is the easier problem to solve because we already know what to do. Biodiversity loss, on the other hand, is much harder, and its diversity in ecosystems, in our food systems, even in our own microbiomes, that is the true foundation of planetary health. Since 1970, biodiversity has declined by 65% in Africa and a staggering 94% in Central America. These aren't just numbers. They represent the collapse of life systems we depend on. And the only real solution is research, not just in medicine, but through deep collaboration across biology, ecology, zoology, botany, and beyond. Life's definition of life sciences, an interdisciplinary field devoted to the study of biological life, as well as the internal and external conditions necessary for its continuation. This means that all of us engaged in life science have a responsibility to advocate for the intimate connections between human health, including issues such as animal health, deforestation, global warming, defaunation, pollution, lack of clean water, loss of biodiversity, food production, and food consumption. But it's not enough to study these things in isolation. We must integrate this knowledge into education, research, and our engagement with the world outside our universities. As scientists, students, policymakers, and citizens, we are all responsible for creating a sustainable, healthier future. At Karolinska Institutet, with our experts in basic and clinical sciences and epidemiology, we are dedicated to tackling these challenges and connecting the dots. So what does this mean for education of health professionals? It means that students entering the fields of medicine, nursing, public health, and science must be taught to see these connections. Understanding the relationship between health and the environment is not optional, it's essential. This is one of the most important responsibilities we hold at Karolinska Institutet. By integrating these insights into our teaching, research, and outreach activities, we aim to empower scientists, students, politicians, and the public to contribute to a healthier planet and population. The challenges are immense, but if we together can learn to connect the dots across disciplines, across systems, and across nations, we can build a future that supports both people and planet. Therefore, I'm extremely happy that Karolinska Institutet is organizing this symposium with Journal of Internal Medicine and the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences. Thank you.
Yes, as you have all noticed, we are at the Royal Academy of Sciences, which awards the Nobel Prizes in physics, chemistry, and physiology, medicine. And I would like to introduce, is that wrong?
Karolinska Institutet. That has medicine.
That has medicine, okay. But I've been here as a science journalist with the physics and chemistry. That's correct, thank you. Okay, the one leading the health committee at the Swedish Academy of Sciences is Jan Nilsson, here to present after Annika. Welcome up.
Thank you. It is a great pleasure for me to welcome you to the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences. The Academy was founded in 1739, and Carl von Linné, that Annika talked about, was one of the founders. And I am sure that he would very much have liked to attend this conference had he been alive today. Within just a few years' time, the world has changed into something few of us would have believed would be possible. There is war in Ukraine, Gaza, Africa, with large civilian casualties. The US has elected a president that regards trade wars as something beautiful, have declared war against science, and applauds the use of fossil energy. Our Swedish government thinks that addressing climate change may as well wait a couple of years. But we cannot wait to address climate change. Not in Sweden, not in the world at large. People are already dying because of climate change today. As the world gets warmer, longer and more intense heat waves will affect patients with heart and lung diseases, resulting in increased mortality. It is estimated that during the extremely warm summer of 2022, more than 60 people died in Europe because of heat-related causes.
60,000.
60,000. Sorry. Thank you. Climate change will also endanger water supply and production of food, risking the lives of millions of people. It would also increase the risk of infections as bacteria and virus may spread more easily. The political awareness of the threat constituted by climate change has seriously weakened during the last few years. Some powerful leaders are even actively working to promote climate change. Because of this, the voice of science has never been more important than now. So the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences is proud to be part of this important meeting, and we are grateful to all of you that have come here to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Third, I would like to introduce Sweden's former Deputy Prime Minister, Isabella Lövin, who is now a member of the European Parliament. Welcome up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you so much for inviting me to speak at this very important event. Also, thank you to the organizers for choosing the very topic of the symposium to connect the dots between planetary health and human health. We're now living in an age of disruption. You can feel it every day, how boundaries are being pushed, how old truths are challenged, and that even the very concept of truth is challenged. So-called fact resistance is getting contagious. And we do as others do and often think as others think. And when even governments, the US, but also the Swedish government, are questioning facts and science, people tend to follow along. Alternative facts get normalized. This has been going on now for quite some time already, but what is changing now is the storytelling around it. Up until very recently, certain politicians and business people tried to find rational reasons and doubt in science to push certain agendas, to delay climate action, for instance. Now that is changing. I hear my colleagues from the far-right groups in the European Parliament, such as the group of Patriots, which is the third largest group, the ECR group, the fourth largest, and the other small group that is called the Sovereigns of Europe. They're talking about scientists and Greens as being in a climate cult. That means that the battle of facts is dead in some quarters. Now, instead, it's about storytelling. If you say that universities are woke, elitist, and communist, you don't have to argue with the facts. If you say that free media is fake, unfair, and failing, you don't have to take any investigative or serious journalism reporting seriously. This is new in Western democracies, and this has to be taken very, very seriously. So how can this type of storytelling be countered? I tell you, one way we can't continue going, that is to try and counter these disruptive narratives only with more and more facts. We've had the facts on climate change, on species extinction, ocean degradation already for decades. But it only seems to resonate with a small number of individuals if the culture and society as a whole is in response denial. What we need now, I think, is a new narrative, one that puts people in the right place, not outside this wonderful, living, vibrant, miraculous blue planet that we happen to be part of, but embedded into it with its wonders and beauty that makes us as humans so much bigger and more beautiful than we could ever dream of being when we're small, individualistic, alone in a materialistic, dead world. The approach of One Health, of planet and people, could actually help us a lot with this narrative. We know that going back to a drill, baby, drill kind of attitude will definitely hurt us and our children, both physically with extreme weather events that have been mentioned, but also mentally. When we burn out the planet, we burn out ourselves, as the extreme numbers of mental illnesses, depression, eating disorders, addictions, and diagnoses show all over the Western world right now. Nature itself can heal us, individually and collectively, if we listen to it and start, again, revitalizing our respectful relationship with it. We could start by giving it a name, this natural feeling of interconnection that so many of us experience, that Maria was showing with a fantastic picture of the mountain. When we are in nature or when we are with animal friends, the name I have given to it is the oceanic feeling in a recent book. Or rather, I borrowed the concept from the French author Romain Rolland. He was also a Nobel laureate in literature. He coined this concept in the beginning of the last century, and he took his pencil and he wrote to Sigmund Freud and had a few comments on his theories on the death drive, the libido, and the Oedipus complex, and politely asked the professor if he could comment on what Rolland described as an oceanic feeling, a feeling of awe and interconnectedness with the universe that he could experience in nature. And he called it a true religious feeling without religion, without dogmas. Freud answered to him in a book called The Civilization and Its Discontents, where he described Roland's question, saying that it might very well be a very common feeling, the oceanic feeling. However, Freud himself, he never felt it. But he wrote in a comforting tone, it doesn't have to mean that it is pathological. And there he left it. And considering the importance Freud has had on modern psychology and the self-image we have of modern man during the last century and even this century, we can only wonder what would have happened if Freud would have involved the oceanic feeling in his analysis, and if it would have been known to the Western world during all these hundreds of years as famous as the Oedipus complex. Now, science has been very good at splitting nature into tinier and tinier parts, looking at effects and causes in a mechanistic world, but not so good in looking at interconnected systems in a living web of life, where we ourselves are part of the web. I think that what has to be humanity's next step is recognizing the power of interconnectedness, not individualism. the force and the meaning to life it gives to treat the living world with respect and not as a commodity to be consumed and turned to waste. And I do hope that this symposium will be an important step for the scientific community to contribute to this new and much needed narrative. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabella, for the oceanic feeling. So, last but really not least, the Journal of Internal Medicine is a very important partner in this, key organizer, and we have the editor-in-chief here, who is also a professor at the Karolinska. Bo Angelin, welcome up. How is your oceanic feeling this morning?
So, thank you. As a representative of the Journal of Internal Medicine, I would like to, again, all wish you welcome, and we really look forward to a very exciting thing. I'm going to have two messages for you to bring back, and that's to know two names. How many here believe that you're at the Key Symposium? Because you are not. You're at the K Symposium. And the interesting thing is, talking about storytelling, but the background of this meeting, like a lot of other things, is from the mind of Axel K. And Axel K was actually a pathologist who was also the president of the Karolinska Institute many years ago. And he had a very strong drive for promoting. At that time, Karolinska Institute wasn't even allowed to have people make a PhD, actually. They had to go to Uppsala. But he wanted to improve the publication system for Scandinavian authors. So we founded the journal in 1863, starting calling it Medicinskt Arkiv. Then it was turned into the probably more known Acta Medica Scandinavica, which was a very common publication for research. And in 1989, I had the pleasure to be involved in the turnover from Acta Medica to Journal of Internal Medicine. And one reason for that was to try to make this a more international publication. But Axel K, he was also a friend of Alfred Nobel, and that's probably one of the reasons why Nobel, for some reason, chose to use the Karolinska Institute to give out the prize in physiology of medicine, because they were spending a lot of time discussing what was important to them. But that's another thing. But he was also smart enough to realize that if you want to have a good publication, that will cost you money. So at the same time, 1863, he initiated a fund to support the journal. And luckily, since quite a few years, we're actually making a surplus. So we now have a fund of 200 million Swedish crowns, where we have to need the surplus each year in order to avoid tax. And to avoid tax is something which is very important for Swedes. So we decided to really put more effort into making this a great journal, but we also said we could do other things. So we're actually supporting meetings. We started with supporting smaller meetings, and sometime early on, we decided to make a big meeting every year, at least. And they were supposed to be K Symposia. And next, yes. So this is just to tell you about Jim, because that's the other name I want you to remember. If you remember K and Jim, I'm happy. So we have a journal. It comes out with about 12 issues per year. Still a paper. Publishing a paper journal is like monarchy. There is absolutely no concrete logical reason for doing it, but you still think if you have it, why shouldn't you not go on with it? We become pretty peculiar. We get a lot of submissions, but we only publish less than 10%. For the moment, we actually have just passed. We used to be on a 2-digit IF. People always ask you, when you say, I'm working with this journal, they always ask, what is the impact factor? So you have to know that. But this is something working with open access, and it's a quite nice journal. We get publications or submissions from 25, 30 countries each year, and I think we've made a good. So the journal is doing fine. Next slide. So these are the Key Symposia, the latest one. So 2 years ago, we organized a Key Symposium in Okinawa. And the idea was to look at what's going on in the blue zones. So the organizer then, Ole Molander, who is one of our editors, we flew in all the people, well, not all the people, but quite a few of the people working with high age, and had a meeting in Okinawa. And that was quite a nice meeting, actually. This one was organized through the initiative of Peter Stenwinkel, who said, he's also an editor, and he said, I would like to organize a meeting on planetary health. And this will not be just about saying that we will all go to hell sooner or later. This will be a discussion of what can we actually do and what is the evidence for doing different things. And I think that's been organized, and we should really be, hopefully also at the end of the meeting, extremely grateful to Peter and all the people that he has involved to organize this meeting, which I think is a unique thing. And this is an exemplar of the type of meetings we would like to do. Next year, in this same room, we will have a meeting in June, and that will be organized by Gunilla Carlsson-Hedestam and others about the vaccine platforms. And this will also be a very timely summary of what have we actually learned from the development of new vaccines. And I think that will be almost as good as this one, at least. So if you remember this, you can also go there and see, because we're also supporting other initiatives that are originated by scientists. If you want to organize a small meeting, to have a think tank about something which could result in an article, but it will also result in an application for grants or something like that, you can get support for us. We have some materials out here, so you can contact me. If you would like to suggest the next Key Symposium, that would be good. So, again, very welcome, and please enjoy this meeting. We really look forward to your engagement in it. Thank you.